Do you have any of your books with you, Ken?
Yes, I do, and I'm going to give them. I'm going to give a new one to everyone that doesn't have one.
Chili. Oh, good. I'm sitting in curled up bed thinking about
David, come over here and stand and see if you see me in the camera. Okay? You see me? Okay. That's what I wanted to know. We got 3 minutes, so we'll wait.
All the appliances in place. Oh, we always shake her hand.
Did you guys have a good trip?
It was okay.
Okay. You can't say good.
Just west of Knoxville.
Oh, okay.
And we get a phone call that my mother's falling from her.
Oh, no. Okay.
Take the stitches out.
Okay.
Okay, so the incision looks pretty good.
That was on the way that happened.
So I really felt in the Lord that I needed to go see my siblings.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm glad I did.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, she did. Okay. Okay.
it's gonna heal. It'll be just fine. It's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, it's like
Okay.
We're doing it.
All right.
she's in first grade. So
A lot of people here I know tonight.
Huh?
A lot of people here I know tonight.
Yeah, Doc. You know
Yeah,
Doc.
I haven't seen him probably
Yeah.
over a year.
Yeah.
Ken, how have you been?
Huh?
How have you been?
Not that well, really.
uh-oh.
I've got some problems in my shoulder, and I'm going to go see a surgeon at McBride on Monday afternoon. I had an MRI. I'll probably have to have surgery on my shoulder. If I'm going to go see a surgeon, that's probably what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had surgery on this shoulder.
Did you have rotator cuff? Or really? I'm hoping I can avoid that. But
Wonderful. Wonderful, no problems at all.
okay. I've got a tear in the labrum, and I've got some spurs,
I did too.
and I'm hoping that the muscles are still okay. But we'll see.
You know, it's cold here. You know, Audrey gave it to me. He passed away. Yeah. He wanted me to have it. You know, he used to wear this a lot.
Yeah, I'm really glad you invited Cheryl to come tonight. I've got a
someone else. Another
I've got a very good book to give her tonight. That's going to be very helpful if you'll read it.
I told her that
You will find that we can reverse your type 2 diabetes. Actually reverse it. Get rid of it.
I told her that you had a set of 3. And I may
Yeah.
have a couple of extra ones.
Yeah, but my new one is the best.
Oh, you've got a 4th one out?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
This one right here. It's a revised edition. Yeah. I've got 7 o'clock. That clock back there says it's 5 till, but we don't have 5 minutes. It's 7 o'clock. So I'm going to get started. And what I do is record this and I put it into shorts on YouTube. Short is 60 seconds or less of the video. So I'm going to be speaking for about 45 minutes. I'm going to break it into about 45 lessons. So that's the plan. And as I go through it, I guess if you can hold your questions, just think about them. And toward the end, then we'll answer any questions that you might have. Okay? So bear with me as I go through this, and hopefully I can get a good recording and help a lot of people. But I'm glad you're here. I wouldn't be able to do it very well if you weren't here. It's different if you're speaking to, just the pews. I get some, get a little feedback and smiles and all that while I'm presenting this. So, here we go. A person steps off the curb and begins to walk across the street, and a car comes screeching around the corner. And the car is coming straight toward the person. She picks up her pace, trying to hurry across the street, and the car changes lanes and comes straight toward her. So she turns around to go back, but the car changes lanes too. The car is so close, and the woman is so scared that she freezes. And the car swerves at the last moment to miss the woman and screeches to a stop. And the window comes down, and the driver is a squirrel who says, "See, it's not as easy as it looks." That's what he says. Now, the idea, there are many times that we may think that someone should have handled a stressful situation better. Then, after experiencing something similar, you find out that it's not as easy as it looks. And having a similar experience is necessary to understand how it feels. And so when I look at people who struggle with their diabetes to control their blood sugars, I know from my experience that it's not as easy as it looks. I want to make suggestions, tips, and ideas from my experiences and research. And we need the motivation to do the right things, which we can build with God's wisdom. And as you continue to read through the book, which is I'm going to give you that book, as you continue to read through it, you'll find how effective and helpful God's wisdom is. And you'll notice how it really affects and relates to every life situation. So what I experience each day illustrates how wisdom can apply. When I get up in the morning, blood sugar is the first thing on my mind. And what is my blood glucose level? Is it high, low, or is it just right? I check my blood first thing in the morning. And then throughout the day, those thoughts stay with me. And after eating lunch, I wonder, did I take enough insulin to cover the carbs that I ate? And I check my blood sugar if I'm not wearing my continuous glucose monitor. Multiple times each day, I check my blood glucose. Think about the amount of exercise I'm getting and the number of grams of carbohydrates I'm eating. So I do this to ensure I get the proper balance of food, activity, and insulin to maintain blood sugar levels as close to normal as possible. And do I succeed? Most of the time. And you may think, what an annoyance. What a nuisance. What a hassle. Is that any way to live a life? And I say, yes, it is, because that's God's wisdom. In Proverbs 4:23, it states, be careful what you think, because your thoughts run your life. God's wisdom states, pleasant words are like honey. They are sweet to the spirit, and they are healing to the body. And if you need to think about your health, what you eat, and how many steps that you take, start. It's the way of wisdom. It's a skill for living. The foundation of these outsmarting strategies is the way of wisdom, the skill for living, God's wisdom. Success and victory come from God's wisdom. For the Lord gives wisdom, from His mouth comes knowledge and understanding. He holds success or victory in store for the upright. Proverbs 2. We all have available to us God's wisdom, which is more precious than rubies. She's more precious than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with her. Proverbs 3. As you read through these strategies, you will see how vital and valuable the resource of wisdom is. It could be called the common sense approach that is not so common. And so diabetes management application is this. By doing the following 17 prime activities, you'll keep your safety harness on, and instead of letting diabetes do its devastating work in the background of your life, destroying your health, you will keep in control. So let's start our day with 7 vital guidelines. And that's what we're going to do today in the evening. We'll look at the 7 for the morning. Staying in control in the morning. Number 1 is keep learning. Ignorance is not bliss. When I went to see my endocrinologist recently, I told him since I'm 69, and I'm 70 now, I decided to do two new things. The first one was to donate blood. And I tried to donate 40 years ago, but was not accepted since I had type 1 diabetes. But this time, I was accepted as long as I didn't have any current diabetes complications and was in stable control. And so my wife and I gave. And after doing so, I had a wonderful feeling about the good that I had done. Has everyone given blood? It's a wonderful feeling once you get through it. Another thing, the second thing that I decided to do was look at the bestseller book list on Amazon for books under the category of diabetes. And when I saw the diabetes code was number 1, I decided to buy it. And what a wise decision that was. And so it's good to start the day knowing what diabetes is. The better we understand, the better our choices will be. Instead of assuming what we read, what we need to do, we can know what to do. For example, someone asked me, since I have type 1 diabetes, when I would become a type 2. And the fact is that I will never become a type 2. Both types of diabetes have similar lifestyles with meal plans and exercise, but are dissimilar in many ways, like medications available for use. Both can use an effective therapy, but the results can reverse type 2 diabetes. Type 1s can use it to lose weight and cause their bodies to be more sensitive to insulin, making less needed. But what is this therapy I discovered? Fasting. And I found it in the information, the author, the medical doctor, Jason Fung, had it in his Diabetes Code book. So each island, there's what's called the Isles of Langerhans, contains about 2,000 beta cells. It's in your pancreas. Each islet contains about 2,000 beta, I just said that. But beta cells produce insulin, and the word insulin is from a Latin root word meaning island. Where did they get that idea? The Isles of Langerhans. So the essential difference between type 2 diabetes and type 1 is the beta cells available in the pancreas to produce insulin. Type 1 is an autoimmune disease in which the body attacks and destroys the insulin-producing beta cells. I don't have any. You do. Most of you do. What is insulin resistance? Type 2 is a disease in which the beta cells keep producing to the point of stuffing the cells with glucose. And that is how there becomes insulin resistance. Instead of being stored as glycogen, the body stores the excess glucose as fat. And so when fasting for 16 hours, the body, after 14 hours, uses the stored glucose, which is glycogen, and then converts the fat as its energy source. And this means that the body begins to lose weight. So it is imperative with either type to keep blood glucose as close to the normal range as possible, and know that carbohydrates profoundly impact blood glucose levels and insulin production in people with type 2 diabetes. Carbohydrates do that. What does that mean? Well, cut back on the carbohydrates. And so number 2, have a health routine, a plan. Proper prior planning prevents pitifully poor performance. People don't plan to fail, but they fail to plan. Planning the best decisions ahead of time, that's called diligence. Biblically, the basic meaning of diligence is planning. People get out of bed in the morning and usually visit the restroom. What follows among people differs. Some have the simple habit of making their bed. Making your bed first thing in the morning is good, but there's a plan that is much more beneficial to those with diabetes. Planning keeps you free to control your diabetes. And so giving thought to health is so important. How many times will I check my blood sugar today? Or how many steps will I take? How many calories will I eat? And especially carbohydrates, since they directly impact my blood sugar levels. These are the things to think about first thing in the morning. The way of God's wisdom teaches the importance of planning and of not getting in a hurry, of not having to go back and do things differently. The plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty. Enthusiasm without knowledge is not good. And if you act too quickly, you might make a mistake. We all need to plan our days, build healthy habits, and to think before doing. And so, number 3, here we go. Check your blood glucose level first thing in the morning. Pricking your fingers hurts. Why do it? You experience less pain by pricking on the side of your finger, not the pad. So use a good lancet device like a CareTouch too. Discovering your blood glucose will give you the information to make the best decision. Now, what if you wake up with an elevated blood sugar of 185 or 258? What should you do? Should you go ahead and eat breakfast? No. Take a leisure walk instead, or avoid carbs. Don't have any carbs for breakfast. And what caused this? What was my blood glucose last night before going to bed? Do I have a cold starting? Did I eat a snack last night? Have relationship conflicts or financial stress? All these could be factors that cause elevated blood glucose in the morning. And so did that person prick themselves in the right place? No, that's the pad. Don't do that. But many people have the good habit of checking their blood glucose in the morning, and then they are through checking for the day. However, research indicates that checking yourself more often than once daily will build greater self-management confidence, and better glucose numbers. And from this research, the A1C test results fell more than 1 point, 7.3 to 6.2. And so here is number 4 now. Mimic God's design of the body with timing, making the right time your habit. Since carbohydrates affect blood glucose, take your insulin before breakfast or any meal, unless your blood glucose is below 70, then take it after the meal. Novolog and Humalog become active within 15 to 20 minutes. So if you wake up at 163, take your insulin, walk, and then eat breakfast, you could have a low blood glucose. And this happened with a friend of mine, and before he could get to breakfast, he was 38. He was about to pass out. So finish your outdoor work and get your fields ready. After that, build your house. You know, the proverb teaches an important sequence concerning a person's financial welfare. If a person doesn't have the fields ready, there will not be a harvest for food to eat on the table. And building a house will not sustain a person with the nourishment needed. So get your fields ready so there can be a harvest, and then have resources to build a house. A sequence of priority steps is needed for physical health too. So walk, eat, check blood glucose, take medications, and do so at just the right time. You've got to be kidding. No, I'm not kidding. It's important to have the right sequence as you start the day. Oh, there's building the house. Now, we see a sequence of God's design of the body when we eat. What happens when we eat carbohydrates? Glucose is the result. First, the body transports glucose with blood into the small intestine. And then a step-by-step process begins to metabolize the glucose for energy. In a sense, the body is counting the carbs you eat and initially responds by releasing stored up insulin in the secretory vesicles in the pancreas. So that's what this picture is. Then it begins to manufacture the exact amount of insulin needed with the pancreas beta cells. Do you have some tiny but priceless islands? Yeah. They're called the Isles of Langerhans. In the pancreas, Isles of Langerhans, about 1 million of them in the pancreas, are the priceless islands. They are priceless because within each one you have about 2,000 beta cells and alpha cells producing the hormone glucagon, which is very important. Within the beta cells, the hormone insulin is manufactured in a multi-step process. The word insulin from a Latin root word meaning island. That's right, the Isles of Langerhans. And insulin is produced in the Isles of Langerhans. So these beta cells are capable of measuring the blood glucose level within seconds with an accuracy to within 2 milligrams per deciliter to determine the quantity of insulin needed. So writes Dr. Beezer of the Joslin Diabetes Center. We can mimic the body's design by checking our blood sugar or blood glucose. That's one way. Especially when we eat carbohydrates, glucose levels rise. Stored insulin then deploys rapidly, which is called phase 1 insulin release. Unfortunately, most people with type 2 diabetes have an impaired phase 1 release of insulin. And this can cause a high blood glucose reading after a meal because it's delayed. You've got your carbs, it's going up. And a low, because you have an overproduction of a low hypoglycemic episode several hours later with too much insulin in circulation. That's what can happen. And so insulin is a multifaceted hormone capable of doing several functions, and here are some of them. Insulin aids glucose entry into cells for energy storage and heat production. And since its discovery 100 years ago, this has been the focus of insulin. And when Banting and Best discovered insulin, doctors used it for patients needing glucose control. And even the term diabetes, which means siphon in Greek, and mellitus, which means sweet in Latin, evokes the honey urine that attracts ants. The idea recognized since antiquity, but first documented by Thomas Willis in 1674. With the use of insulin, patients and healthcare providers focus on blood sugar control to prevent complications. And this has been my focus as a person with type 1 diabetes for about 63 years now. And it brings life instead of death for type 1s. Yeah, I've had type 1 diabetes for 63 years now. Dr. Banting was a surgeon during World War I. And while in the battle zone, shrapnel wounded his right forearm. They removed it, the shrapnel, and applied a tourniquet about his elbow. He then continued to work on the injured for 17 hours. This is the kind of character that Frederick Banting had. After his time in World War I, he became a demonstrator in surgery and anatomy at the University of Western Ontario. In this role, he had to talk to medical students about the pancreas, which led him to read about the Isles of Langerhans in a medical journal. His idea was to extract a substance from the islets, later known as insulin, using the lab at Toronto University. And he and a graduate assistant, Charles Best, used lab dogs, dog pound dogs, and even strays that summer for their experiments. Dr. Frederick Banting and Charles Best tied off the pancreas duct in dogs and discovered insulin on July 27, 1921. And so what became of the treatment and the management of type 1 and type 2 diabetes for decades? Insulin. Now we see there are ways to manage type 2 diabetes: improved diet, regular exercise, healthy weight, medications to control blood sugar, and self-management through lifestyle. But these do not address the core issue of type 2 diabetes. What is de novo lipogenesis? Well, too much insulin affects people with insulin resistance and eventually type 2 diabetes. The liver stockpiles glucose into glycogen, but the liver has its limits for glycogen storage. Once that limit is reached, the overflow in glucose triggers another insulin function. It starts the liver with the excess glucose into fat through the de novo lipogenesis. De novo means from new, and lipogenesis is making new fat. So de novo lipogenesis means to make new fat. Insulin turns excess glucose into new fat in the form of triglyceride molecules, and this new fat is stored in fat cells that the body can use for energy. But do we ever use them? Insulin resistance and hyperinsulinemia occur when the cells are already full of glucose and the glucose to fat conversion starts. According to Dr. Jason Fung, this results in more stored fat or fatty liver. Insulin will also reduce fat movement. So where do you want to move fat? Out of the organs and fat around organs. Your body can also self-heal by not trying to eat when you are ill. In other words, your body goes into a fasting state. A fasting state can be healthy for losing weight and cutting back on the need for more insulin. Jesus fasted. After fasting 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry, Matthew 4. Jesus was very weak, and Satan knew he was. And this is when he tempted him by saying to turn stones into bread. But Jesus demonstrated that even in his condition, he could resist the temptation to use his powers in a self-centered way. But the point is, Jesus fasted. So how can we mimic the design of the body? What is the body doing when we eat? It measures the glucose amounts. Glucose comes from carbohydrates. So we should count our carbohydrate intake, count carbs, is what you need to do to mimic God's design of the body. We should count our carbohydrate intake, count carbs, as well as know what our blood glucose level is. The fewer carbs you eat results in less stimulation of insulin, which causes more fat storage. So it would help to eat fewer carbs per day, under 100 grams or even less. As a type 1, I inject insulin. Using short-acting insulin like Humalog and Novolog, I take it about 15 minutes before eating the calculated number of carbs I plan to eat. And I do this if my blood glucose is over 120. If my blood glucose is less than 100, I take it right before I take my first bite. And if it's 70, I wait about 15 minutes before I take it. I wait about 20 minutes into the meal, that is. Yes, it's important. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven. Now this, you count your carbs, so we got 37 carbs in here. Do we? Do we have 37 carbs that we count? I see 37 right there. Minus the 8 of fiber. Complex carbohydrate, the body does not metabolize it. So you subtract that. So here's number 5. Now we're just going to go through 7.5, by the way. Number 5, eat breakfast and all meals with fewer carbs and more protein. And in fact, eat fewer carbohydrates for every meal. Portion control is the principle. If you find honey, eat just enough. If you eat too much of it, you will throw up. That's the wise statement. That's portion control, isn't it? Robert Bynack, medical doctor, in his book, Dr. Bynack's 1-2-3 Diabetes Diet, gives an accurate formula for determining how many calories to eat each day and maintaining your current weight. But you might want to lose some weight. If you weigh 230, you multiply it by 11, or whatever your weight is, you multiply it by 11, and that is going to be your total calorie count to prevent you from gaining weight. 3,500 calories equals 1 pound. If you cut back 500 calories per day, that means you should lose 1 pound per week. And that is until you reach a plateau of loss. Your body can slow down its metabolic rate because you're starving. But if that happens, you can always try number 14, intermittent fasting. And how many of those calories should be carbohydrates? The Joslin Diabetes Desk book recommends 40% of the 2,000 calories as carbohydrates, 800 calories, or 200 grams of carbohydrates per day, but I don't follow that. Since carbohydrates directly affect blood glucose levels, the less you eat, the better your blood glucose control will be. What is the ideal amount of carbohydrates to eat per day? Some advocates of a low-carb meal plan really mean low carb. Some advocates of a low-carb meal plan really mean, I just said that, really means low carb. Since some suggest up to 12 to 15 grams of carbs per meal, comparable to eating one slice of bread. For the day, they suggest no more than 50 grams. And if that is what it takes to keep blood glucose in control, do it. But since carbohydrates directly affect blood glucose levels, the less you eat, the better blood glucose control you will have. But if you can eat more, maintain blood glucose levels near normal, and lose weight, do it. I usually eat about 15 to 20 grams for breakfast, and around 30 grams for dinner and supper, and another 15 for snacks throughout the day, bringing me to about 90 to 100 grams per day, which equals about 27% of my body weight, to 145 pounds. But what kind of carbohydrates are you going to eat? Well, now you eat the hash browns, I'd say there's about 30 grams of carbohydrate right there, at least. And of course, potatoes will drive up blood sugar. They will. So heavy rain, downpour, carbs causing blood glucose spikes. Is there something else we can do? How about a gentle rain type carbs that don't cause blood glucose spikes? Well, there is. There's a way to do that. You pick the kind of carbohydrates you're going to eat. Now, I see two carbs here that are going to drive up your blood sugars. Baked potato at 87, and Texas toast, which is 72. The carbohydrates to eat should raise blood glucose levels the least. Numbers have been assigned based on research on how fast a particular carbohydrate will make blood glucose rise in 2 hours compared to an equal quantity of pure glucose. Researchers compared all carbohydrates to glucose, given the baseline number of 100. The smaller the number is, the better the results will be for maintaining blood glucose levels, and these are high numbers. You got to get below 55. Here's some white rice. What do you think its number is? 73. Let's try 86. It's going to really drive up. Did anyone go down to this Pandora, whatever that place is down here, the Chinese food, where you can get a lot of good rice? Don't do it. Get the broccoli or something instead. A good GI would be berries. And berries have like a 40. And one of the things about berries, they've got a lot of water too. And so berries have a source of carbohydrates and are sweet, and they are lower in sugars compared to many commonly eaten fruits. Strawberries, for example, contain only 7 grams of sugars per 1 cup serving and have half the amount of sugar as an apple. The biggest benefit is the portion size when compared to other fruits. And so what should we eat? Well, by eating fewer carbohydrates per meal, you should eat more protein. Protein, Clarence. That's protein. That's turkey there. Half your body weight is the recommended number of grams of protein you should eat daily. The Johnson Diabetes Desk book lists several benefits of eating more protein, such as a sensation of fullness, fills you up, maintaining muscle mass while losing weight, better uptake of glucose by muscles, and reducing the spike up of blood glucose after meals. So eat healthy protein. Think of eating turkey, tuna, salmon, all of those. and put it on a bed of broccoli or something, not rice. Okay? So here we go. Number 6. Focus on staying positive every day with gratitude. A cheerful look brings joy to the heart, and good news gives health to your body. A cheerful heart makes you healthy, but a broken spirit dries you up. Hearing good news from a land far away is like drinking cold water when you're tired. And what do we usually do with good news? Well, we're thankful for it, aren't we? It's gratitude. Yeah. So an important thing to do is have a gratitude diary. One of the first things to do to start the day is to jot down good things that happened the previous day. You could do this in the evening before bed as sleep preparation too. Then give thanks to God for them. Looking at the brighter side of life is the principle. And so health benefits from the practice of gratitude have been shown from extensive scientific research by Dr. Emmons when he was at the University of California at Davis, by researchers at the University of Pittsburgh, University of Manchester, University of Pennsylvania, and the University of Michigan, and many more. From this research, a practice of gratitude contributes to sleeping better, exercising more, reducing levels of the stress hormone cortisol, feeling more optimistic and connected with others. Also, people who practice gratitude have better compliance or adherence to a meal plan and taking their medications. You're looking on the bright side of life. Everything seems so much better when you list these things and count them and pray about them and really introduce gratitude to your life. Now, let me give you 3 ways for gratitude. Focus on good things, which I've already mentioned. Have a positive self-talk. And also compare yourself to others. But I'm going to explain that here in a minute. Have you ever had thoughts like these? I have. It happens over and over. Yesterday, for example, I followed my prescribed meal plan almost perfectly, and I even skipped dinner. So I woke up this morning, and my blood sugar was 300. This is ridiculous. Why do I even try? Well, it's easy to complain about the bad things happening in our lives, but it takes more effort to think about the good things. And when we consider all the things available today to help manage diabetes compared to how it's been in the past, we can put those things on a feel-good page and be thankful. Here's a new medication that's out. There's Ozempic and Mounjaro and Jardiance. These are all good medications, and I think Carolyn has taken Ozempic. Is that right? Yeah, and you've lost weight, right? Okay, well that helps. Here's a woman that, look what happened to her in 8 months. This is the Eli Lilly medications for weight loss. But you don't have to get into this weight loss. You can do fasting, which I'll explain a little bit more as we go through this. New insights into nutrition, fasting, and movement, and new tools like insulin pens, insulin pumps, glucose monitors you can list on the Feel Good page. The Way of Wisdom teaches us to focus on that page. Pleasant words are like honey, they are sweet to the spirit and bring healing to the body, Proverbs 16. He who seeks good finds goodwill, Proverbs 11. The first point is to list what is good on your Feel Good page. And make sure that you list the seemingly insignificant, minor things. Count them, list them, pray about them. For example, we can have a good day using our hands in the yard or garden or at our computer. See the beauty of flowers, well, at least you used to be able to, and enjoy the aroma and taste of delicious food with gratitude. The Feel Good page to see, walk, taste, feel, eat, as well as have a home, bed, clothes, family, and friends are the little things that we should appreciate and not take for granted. So the second thing is talk to yourself in a positive, encouraging, and reaffirming way. Dr. Gary Arsham, a medical doctor with type 1 diabetes for more than 60 years, wrote this, and he's probably had it for 70 years now. But he wrote this in a book that I have. You are the best available source of support for living well with diabetes. You are always there, and you know yourself well. No one else can take care of you as well as you can. Take to heart those words and then add these affirmations from Dr. Beezer from the Joslin Diabetes Center. He says this, he writes this, I am a strong and self-assured individual so that when monitoring or scheduling requirements affect my activities with others, I handle my needs without giving in to group pressures. I feel comfortable with and am able to educate those around me about why I need to frequently check and count my carbs. I feel comfortable in my ability to make appropriate adaptations so that I can participate in social activities that I enjoy. So after listing good things on your Feel Good page and talking to yourself in a positive, affirming way, you can do this. Compare yourself to others. Add that third item to develop more gratitude in your life. Have you ever compared yourself with others? If you were to do so, what would be the best way to do it? I wish I was, or I'm glad I'm not. Which the best approach? I wish I was healthier, wealthier, wiser like so-and-so. And if you do that, then it's easy to come up with envy and resentment and not gratitude. And I want to give you an example. After I was recovering from surgery, I was in a hospital wing for only people with diabetes. It was Trinity Lutheran Hospital in Kansas City, Missouri. A whole wing just had people with diabetes. This was in 1988. A 27-year-old blind patient was in the room next to me. And he blamed everyone for his situation except himself. Instead of using the click button at his bed to call a nurse, he would rant and rave like a madman. Sometimes he would also bang on the wall while ranting, which was the wall that separated our rooms. And he had been in and out of the hospital with diabetic ketoacidosis, DKA, which is a condition that results from the lack of insulin for an extended period of time. And so this results in a toxic way of metabolizing food for energy, resulting in a concentration of free fatty acids, dehydration, and loss of fluid, which brings fewer electrolytes like potassium, chloride, and sodium, and an increase in counter-regulatory hormones like glucagon and cortisol. And I believe this did not have to happen to him if he had just learned to use the principles that we've examined. So this is the comparison. I'm glad I'm not like this 27-year-old being bitter and blaming others for his diabetes self-management. That was in 1988. I'm sure he's long gone. There's no way he's still living. So these three ways, and I'm going to come back to one. Focus on good things. Regarding resource devices, the following is an example of devices that directly relate to diabetes management and should be appreciated. Now, the good news is glucose meters to check what our glucose levels are. For my first 21 years with diabetes, glucose meters did not even exist. And now you can take a tiny amount of blood, we can check glucose levels and results in 5 or 6 seconds, but it hasn't always been that way. My first glucose meter was this, the Ames in 1981. And you had to be near a sink and have a large drop of blood to use it. You then place the blood on the strip, push the button on the meter, and a 1-minute countdown will start. And once a minute had elapsed, I would apply a high-pressure dose of water from a small bottle to the strip, washing away the blood that had not absorbed into the strip. And the strip was then ready to be inserted into the meter for another 1-minute countdown. And finally, after following these procedures, which took about 2 minutes, the result would be displayed. Do you see why the way of wisdom principle of good news and gratitude applies to what we have available today? A cheerful look brings joy to the heart, and good news gives health to the body. Now we have more innovative ways to check blood glucose, continuous glucose monitoring systems. No finger pricks with a lancet are required. Instead, a painless scan is all that is needed to know what your blood glucose is. For example, Dexcom, Medtronic, and Abbott offer user-friendly systems. And I've got mine going right now. I've got my sensor right here, and I've got my pump right here, and it's telling me that I'm I don't want to tell you what I am. I don't like the looks of that. I'm about out of insulin. 183? That's what I am right now. The Freestyle Libre. Abbott calls theirs the Freestyle Libre system. It uses a scanning device called a reader or an app for a smartphone. All you need to do is to place it about 1 inch over a sensor attached to the back of your arm, and the reader then scans from the sensor, which lasts for 14 days, what your blood glucose level is. And the reading is from the interstitial fluid, not directly from the blood. And so Abbott calls the sensor, about the size of 2 stacked quarters, is easily attached to the back of your arm. A tiny filament remains just under the skin in the arm's interstitial fluid. We've all heard of our bodies are composed about 55 to 60% fluid. Well, glucose first enters the bloodstream before it seeps into the interstitial fluid. So there's a short lag between the glucose readings from continuous monitoring systems and a blood glucose meter. Using the trend arrow on the reader, whether it points up or down, indicates that your blood glucose is currently a little higher or lower than the glucose number shown. I enthusiastically recommend these devices for your use. And if you are low or high, the reader will recommend that you do a blood glucose meter check. We can list these devices on our Feel Good page. So here we go. This is it. Number 7. Move often throughout the day. Stand up. Strengthen up. Stretch out. Go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider its ways and be wise. They're always on the move, aren't they? From the fruit of their lips, people are filled with good things, and the work of their hands brings them reward. Proverbs 12. All hard work pays off. But if all you do is talk, you will be poor. Proverbs 14. Ants are creatures of little strength, yet they store up their food in the summer. Proverbs 30. Remember that when Solomon wrote these proverbs, most work involved manual labor. The principle is to move often throughout the day. Move often is also good news for blood glucose control. Just getting up out of your chairs and leisurely walking for a couple of minutes every 30 minutes can make the difference. Research indicates that postprandial, that is after a meal, glucose is lowered for potential highs by half. Not only are glucose high levels reduced, but exercise also lowers cholesterol, triglycerides, and levels of lipoprotein lipase increase. This enzyme aids in the breakdown of fat in the bloodstream. More good news comes from a study that analyzed the difference a 15-minute leisure walk after a meal would make on blood glucose levels compared to just sitting. I got that from this book, that information. If people sit after a meal, their blood sugar peaks like a mountain for about 2 hours. That is, if you take a nap after you eat, your blood sugar is going to go up. However, if people take a 15-minute walk, 1 mile per hour, just a leisure walk after a meal, the mountains become safe, gentle, rolling hills. With a 1 mile per hour walk after a meal, blood sugar peaks are halved. So if your blood glucose goes up 50 points after a meal, by taking a 15-minute leisure walk, it will only go up 25 points. So I've learned to take a short walk after a meal rather than sit or take a nap. I take my nap after I walk. And so here is an additional benefit. Walking reduces insulin levels and makes your muscles more sensitive to insulin. It takes tremendous exercise to burn 70 calories, the amount in a slice of bread. So that is not the reason why exercise benefits better health. Health, instead, it cuts back on insulin resistance. And when you take a walk for a few minutes, your body becomes more sensitive to insulin for the time that you're walking and up to the following 48 hours. So making insulin more effective, needing less to get the job done. And it's like, you get more miles per gallon is the idea. You need less insulin, which is good. So how long can you breathe before becoming fatigued? Have you ever thought about that? Is everyone fatigued? You've been breathing during this. Are you fatigued? I don't think so. As you read this, you're still breathing. You aren't exhausted. And that's because of the abundance of mitochondria in the muscle cells. They are tiny energy producers. The muscles with the most mitochondria, like the heart, have a slow contraction speed and slow twitch conduction, not fast like your hand muscles have. You can exhaust your hand muscles by using them too much. Your breathing muscle activity is an aerobic because the mitochondria aid the cells in these tiny energy producers, providing oxygen and fatigue resistance. And so, when we start walking, the leg muscles do not fatigue because they are abundant with mitochondria. When you walk, there is a response for less insulin needed, which can last for up to 42 hours. Insulin resistance reverses and blood sugars come down. So, that is the verse 7.5 of 17 wise ways to outsmart diabetes. So I want to encourage you to come back maybe 1 month from now, and we'll go over what we need to do in the afternoon. Okay? And then next year we'll go over what we need to do in the evening. And then I'll start getting into some other interesting stories that I have in the book after that. So anyway, does anyone have any thoughts or questions? How can you cut back on your blood sugar levels? Your blood sugar's going up like that. What is one way you could reduce that happening? Eat less carbs. Not meat and vegetables, but less carbs. That's right.
When you have type 1, is there a device that you check your blood sugar and it tells you how much insulin that you need to take?
I've got it. I programmed the ratios in the pump.
So it did.
Yeah, you have to. It's a guess type thing. You have to go through a process to try to figure out. And I've got mine down to 5 units for 1 gram of carbohydrate. I don't know. I'm older and the insulin is not as powerful for me right now, but that's me. I've just had it for 63 years now. So. Okay, anyone, did anyone hear anything they want to put into action tonight? Okay, gratitude, that's great. Put it into action. It'll help with overall health.
Get up and move.
Yeah, get up and move more. Every 30 minutes. Get up and move. Stand up. We're going to look at standing up. We've talked about it before, but we'll look at it again. So, count your carbs, check your blood sugars, cut back on carbs, increase protein, get up and move after you eat, take a little walk. If it's cold outside, walk around the house. That's a good way to do it. So, now before you leave tonight, if you have not gotten one of my new revised edition of 17 Wise Ways to Daily Outsmart Diabetes, I've got a first edition, but this is a new one with 55 new pages of essential information and also some different stories in it. So I want you to make sure you get your copy tonight before you leave, okay? So that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, at least 8 of you. I think they've already got theirs. So pick up your copy. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And say it's 170 days.
Yeah.
We really want it to be under 140. I take it. I'm not eating, I'm taking a shot, bring it down. Now,
And then you eat once it's down?
but I went and saw my parents out in California,
Yeah.
and my dad gave me a name of a new shot. I thought it was that funny. My doctor vetoed it, but
It's a new insulin?
I don't know, probably not.
Okay.
It's something I'm just finding out about. But when it's high like that, rather than taking one of my insulin for food, you take that one and it's a rapid release to bring it down.
Yeah. Yeah, you're supposed to make a correction dose to bring it down. Like, I already took a correction dose for my blood sugar right now, and it just hasn't had enough time to bring it down. It takes 20 minutes to get started. But I'm using Novolog in my pump right now, and I found out that my insurance is not going to cover Novolog. I'm going to get Fiasp, which becomes more active quicker than Novolog or Humalog. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, does anyone else have any question? We have just got a wealth of more information. Of course, you can read it all ahead of time, but I want you to come back because you will not have seen it all on slides with my colorful slides, see? And I want you to come back and bring someone with you. Laura brought Cheryl tonight. Or you invited her, right? Yeah. Fantastic. So let's think about someone else. Doc showed up tonight. Great to see you, Doc. So that's going to be it. Pick up your copy. If you want me to sign it, I will.
Signing mine, Kim.
All right. Lora. I might try it December 14th. How many could come on December 14th? That's 1 month from now. December 14th. If you can come back then, let's try it. Okay. Well, you just keep coming. You can read it too. You can read it. So open it up and see what I put in there. Okay. And I'm going to put Cheryl. Is that right, Cheryl?
She wants you to sign it.
Okay. I will. Doc, you want one?
Yeah, yes.
Here's, hand that back to Cheryl. They're free. I sell them at Amazon. I give them away here. If you want to go to Amazon and buy one, that's $10.99. Okay, who?
Carolyn,
Paul,
yeah.
Paul and Carolyn.
Kill yourself, Doc. You know, you too. That'd be some
Yeah,
time.
I was, I understood I could become a diabetic, but that stuff can throw me into it. See, I've
Sure,
taken that
you can-
Lupron shot.
Yeah, you can become.
You know that Lupron, you've heard of it, haven't you?
Well,
It shuts down my
Here you go, Doc.
yeah, I know.
Here's yours.
shuts down my testosterone.
Oh, okay.
My mom became a diabetic when she was older. It was hard on her, you know.
Well, you watch your weight. That's how you can determine whether you get it or not. Yeah. There's Clarence. There you go.
How are avocados?
That's carbs.
In the morning, I've got to where I'll do like eggs and avocado and use a good whole grain bread,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
And you can do hot.
Are you
tea
just
with that.
using one piece of bread, one piece of toast?
No, I usually use pins.
Oh, okay.
If I go to 2 eggs, I'll
Okay. Well, that sounds pretty
But
nutritious.
in the evening, I got to where I do that broccoli mix.
Yeah.
Got
Come back, Cheryl. You go ahead and read while in the meantime. Okay.
I need to sign one when you're.
Yeah.
Like you can put a smart remark in there if you want.
Oh, I put a smart remark. That's my smart remark. Is it David?
Yes.
And Key or Key Win?
Well, just David.
Well, why not both of you? You'll read it.
It does.
Key,
That's fine.
is that okay?
If you've known me since I was born, you call me Key Win. If you knew me in school, you call me Key. So it just depends on when, you know, if you're family, you call me Key Win. If you're just. There you
That's what
go.
I've got on my phone. Key Win.
That's how I sign my. That's how I sign my name.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh wow.
yeah.
How did you guys know each other?
We lived in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
And now you're both here.
Yeah,
Well,
Edmund.
he's in
but
Edmond.
same state.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not that far away. Really.
Colorado Springs. That's a pretty place.
Oh, it was a pretty place. It still is,
Well,
but
yeah.
I can't afford to live there. But
no, no. I have no one up that way now. Oh, I do have a niece in the Denver area,
oh yeah.
Janice's daughter.
Oh really?
Yeah. Yeah, but we grew up, we were in grade school and went to the same junior high.
His
Uh-huh.
dad was our preacher there. for
Yeah.
several years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I got acquainted with Tom and his identical brother.
Twin
He's got a
brother,
twin brother, identical.
Where's your brother now?
yeah. The Woodland is in Texas.
Okay.
Tom and John. This is Tom
Tom.
and
I'm 10
John.
minutes older than
Are you older than him?
John.
I didn't know
Yes,
that.
good verse.
Wow. Yeah, by 10 minutes.
10 minutes, that's what they tell me. I
Yeah.
I wasn't looking at my
Oh,
watch at the
sure,
time.
you weren't. Yeah.
Well, so.
But
what
I believe
part-
it.
What church family are you part of in Edmond now?
Oh, Memorial Road.
Okay.
That's a big Church of Christ up there, Memorial. They're about 2,500 members. That's big.
Right next to OCC.
Yeah,
Oklahoma Christian.
Okay.
that's where I went, Oklahoma Christian.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he did too.
Except back then it was called Oklahoma Christian College.
That's
not
right.
university.
It's not a,
they
u-
called it
yeah,
OCI.
right.
It took me a long time to start calling it
Yeah.
OC instead of
Yeah.
OCC.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
That's right. Are you doing okay, Key Man? Your mom?
My mom just passed on Saturday.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
You know, it's one of those things that
She had.
you just kind of take it day by day.
Yeah.
So, but it wasn't unexpected.
Okay.
It's just, you know, it changes things.
Yeah. Sure.
And so, because we were primary caregivers for so long, and like yesterday, I spent several hours working on her obituary. You know, what do you emphasize and what do you let go and what
Yeah.
do you, yeah, so it's like,
Do you have any
Okay.
brothers or sisters?
I have an older brother and an older sister.
Okay,
So, we get along fine.
good.
We're together, and lots of extended family.
Okay,
So,
all right.
anyway, I think we're doing fine.
Okay.
It's just, I'm the executor for her estate, so it's gonna be
Yeah.
a lot of paperwork stuff.
Yeah.
I've already started,
Oh, yeah,
and then you have to, the address changes, and you have to, just all
sure.
the,
You don't have to do it all at once.
so.
Break it into small compartments and do it that way.
Anyway, so, yeah.
But we'll be praying for you.
So, but, she was 89,
Yeah.
and she had advanced Alzheimer's, and so it was,
Does she still recognize you?
yes,
Okay,
oh, yeah. You
Okay.
say, hi, Mom, and she'd say, hi, baby,
okay. Yeah. Well, my mom has, memory issues, and she still knows me. But I can really tell her memory is, she doesn't remember where she used to live or anything.
Oh,
So my brother and I get in there and visit with her in a memory unit where she is.
Uh-huh.
She enjoys listening to us talk. We talk about where we used to live in Canyon City, Colorado, Colorado Springs,
right.
different issues we had with neighbors and all that kind of stuff. And she just really enjoys listening. But she'll look at, I'll show up and she can see me say, oh, Kenny. She still gets excited
Oh, good.
about seeing me. Yeah.
All right.
But I went over there the last time, I took her to the doctor. One day, my brother and I took her. Next day we go to see her and she doesn't even remember going to the doctor
Oh,
the day before see.
Yeah.
That's her situation right now. Yeah.
so where does your brother live?
He lives in Owasso too.
Okay, so he's right there.
She's at Baptist Village, memory unit, and my brother has an apartment at Baptist Village.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have senior citizen apartments and, he rents one of them and lives there nearby. Checks on mom about every other day. And so, anyway, that's nice.
Yeah, my mom was at the Gardens at Rivermont, and they took really good care of her, so I could, like when I had COVID and
Yeah.
if we were out of town on vacation
Yeah.
or something, I really didn't worry about her.
Yeah.
I mean, other people, well, I would,
Okay.
I could call and say, how's everything going? And they'd say, oh, she's fine, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was,
But once you could start visiting there, you went over there.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have to get to the grocery store.
Okay. Good to see you guys. We'll see you next month.
Tomorrow. Yes, I didn't know if we were gonna. I didn't know if we were gonna have a December meeting.
Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and have a December. If you guys can you come December 14th?
I don't think it'll be that way. Okay, my sister has one day. I have to see which day that is.
Okay. You guys take care. Well, certainly good to see you, Tom. Yeah.
And thank you for the book.
Yeah, I've got that on sale at Amazon. And I hired a company to advertise it for me
Yeah.
on Facebook
Oh.
and Instagram. They're getting it, piling up the information and hopefully, it's going to be, in fact, I'll show you what they've got so far. If I can find it here. Oh, let me see. I don't even see it. What's that? That's not it. Am I in downloads? Maybe this is it. That's it. Right there. But this is what they've come up with. It's a carousel.
Oh.
See? So, anyway, if I can get this stupid mouse to work. There we go. But this is what they've come up with.
Yeah.
I like the pictures that they've got,
Yeah.
you know, with it. Very attractive.
Yeah. You did a good job.
So, who knows? I might
Cool.
sell a few.
That's so cute.
Yeah, I paid an arm and a leg for it.
Well,
though.
I'll have to look. I don't get on Facebook. You said Facebook and what else?
Instagram.
Oh, Leanne's on Instagram all the time.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
What kind of stuff do you see on Instagram? You see advertising? Because I don't.
I don't see too much advertising. on Instagram.
I set up an account for them. They requested it. I set up an account. And I guess they're going to use, I don't know if they can get into Facebook that through Instagram or not. I don't know. I don't know how that works. I don't either.
The only reason I go to Facebook is or Instagram is if my daughter-in-law posts pictures of the grandkids.
Oh, sure.
So,
Sure.
I have a stupid joke for you.
Okay.
Okay, there's these guys on